Hello folks, I'm Ed Overstreet. Welcome to the Night Sky Imaging YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be processing some uh, solar images I took with the Daystar Filter uh, Scout, Solar Scout. It's a refractor with a built-in chromosphere, Quark Chromosphere, and uh, and I also used the Quark Chromosphere on another refractor, a Astrotech 65 EDQ. It's a sweet little refractor that I love using for solar imaging. So we're going to go over and look at those images now, and we're going to process those using Autostakkert and Imppg, and then we're going into Photoshop to sharpen, colorize, and present for either printing or digital imaging, posting, whatever. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to start out on a Windows laptop that's slow, and open up Autostakkert, and let's open up. This is my first image. I took those yesterday, and if you're interested in seeing that, uh, if you go to the Night Sky Imaging, my YouTube channel, well, if you have found this, just click on the under the Night Sky Imaging, that whatever it is, and that should take you to this page. And it's not under videos. Yeah, it will be under videos. This image, this I'm recording this, so that'll be under videos. Yesterday, this is the one, or 2 days ago, that I took using the Quark Chromosphere on this Astrotech and the Solar Scout. So you can see how I acquired those images, and I took flats, and now we're going to apply those images and process. So let's head back out, and which one we want to do first? And well, we're going to do them both. So let's just go ahead and open up the Scout. I did not take flats when I took the Scout. My plans were to do a time lapse later that day after the sun transited around 12:30, and clouds met me head on, so I never did get around to taking flats. I'm going to use the control key and a mouse click to move this reference box over here where there is some detail, and I'm going to drag my slider, use my arrow key, see if I can find a better reference. That looks fairly sharp. None of them look that good. I only took a video file with 200 frames, so it isn't loaded with a lot of data. But let's go ahead and make sure I've got everything checked I want. Surface, improve tracking, expand, Laplace set to noise robust 5, and we're good to go. And since I don't have flats to remove this, this, which is all dirt, smudges on the optical train, we're just going to have to remove them in post-processing. So we're going to analyze by selecting analyze, and when it's done, we'll apply reference points. Okay, and I really don't have a real good display of quality uh, based on this graph. This line crosses about, if this is 25%, this is 50, somewhere around 35, 36, 37% is where it intersects, which tells me that about 35% of my pictures are in the upper 35%, and and are in the upper 50%, and 65% are in the lower. So not good. And at 50%, I don't know. I like to keep 20, the top images are in the top 25%. So what I'm going to do is just select 25%, and I'll click, and I'm only going to select these few frames, which 25% of 200 is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of a fourth of them, so 50 frames. So let's now apply our reference boxes, and you can either manually click those and apply that, or I'm going to clear that, or you can use a grid automatically. Now, I want a larger reference box, and so this is 200 pixels by 200 pixels, and I'm going to apply this throughout the image. And then we're going to stack. Okay, we really didn't have a good focus, and I didn't have a flat frame, so bummer. This isn't going to be a lot to work with. Let's go ahead and process the other image while we're in Photoshop, in Autostakkert, and well, want that external drive, E drive. This would be Sun. First, though, let's get flat. We need to do the flat, create a flat frame. Since I took it, let's use it. So I'm opening up a flat frame, and if you watch the video I did yesterday, it'll show you how I got this flat frame. I just defocused the camera by about 1,000 about 1,000 steps. I defocused the telescope about 1,000 steps, and that revealed the vignetting issues that I have and the dust and dirt that I have on my optical train. So that I want to remove. So you load the image, you take your flat, and then you load the flat. That's all you do, and then you click on Image Calibration, and you go down and select Create Master Frame. And then I'm going to call this, let's go to the right, I'm in another drive, let's go to this drive, and we'll put it in the flat folder, and we're just going to call this Master Flat AT for Astrotech. Okay, I like to put the date on it too, but this is not necessary for this video. So now we have our flat. Okay, it's done. So let's open our image now, and so this is our video image, and you see the dust here and the dust here, and we're going to get rid of that and dust here. So we're going to go to Image Calibration. Now we're going to load the flat we just took, and it automatically comes up. It remembers where I saved it. Now watch as this, watch as these spots go away. Are they better? Yeah. So we removed the vignetting, which you can't see because it's already dark over here anyway. And we brightened this side, which is really how the sun is. It's a round ball, and it's darker and then brighter. So it gives those optics, that visual look. I don't know what you call it. All right, so we have to analyze this. I probably could have scrubbed this a little better for better detail, because the graph looks puny, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep 25% regardless, and because I really want to show Autostakkert and Imppg, but I'm more interested in showing this video to show the tutorial, the way I use Photoshop to sharpen, colorize, and that sort of thing. So, all right. Now we're going to apply our reference frame, and I do not want boxes the size, reference boxes the size of 200 pixels. Let's try 104 pixels, and that looks good, so let's stack them. Alright, we're done with Autostakkert, so let's close that out. Now we're going to open Imppg. Both programs are free programs, and the first thing I'm going to do is click on this little squiggly and open my tone editor. It's a curve. Let's go find our images, and we'll open the Scout first. Doesn't matter, it's on top. Don't open the AVI file. You want the one we saved in the 25% box folder. Alright, way too big, so let's zoom out. And now here you have to make a decision. You have this reference box because this takes a lot of computer power, and you can make it any size you want. But what I'm going to do is choose to edit, select, and process all, so that any processing decisions that I make, the entire image is going to be affected, not just the area inside that box. And so the first thing that I am planning on doing is working with the curve, and I want to put an anchor point here and drag this up. Now you have the option of using the inversion to invert this image. Let me reset this and invert this image. But when you do this, you end up in many ways making the dark sunspots lighter colored. You can affect that by tricking this curve and actually just recreating the curve I just had, but it's much easier and painless. You got to go retrieve all this. It's much easier if you just start from scratch. So I've reset this completely, and I'm going to put this anchor point and drag this up to the peak, and that looks terrible. So I want to preserve this solar flare, but I sure don't want all of that rim activity, which is just noise. And so I'm going to bring this out, but still try to keep some of this flaring on the rim. And then I'm going to brighten up the sun itself some. Now most of the contrast and detail is going to be brought out in Photoshop using texture, dehaze, clarity, and its sharpening tools. So I'm just going to leave it at that. For the tone curve, we can remove that. And then I'm going to bring deconvolution up to about 3, maybe as high as 4. And you can see it's working down here. Again, that's the horsepower this computer should have. It doesn't. So I'm going to bring this up a little more. It's up around 3 now. And it's about to finish. All right. We can bring up unsharp mask. 1.5, maybe 2.5 here. A little bit too much. Let's drag that down some. Again, I want to do most of my sharpening in Photoshop. So I'm going to leave it like this, and we're going to save this as a 16-bit TIFF file. Now, it is a mono image. I took this with a mono camera. I'm going to call this Solar Scout, and we'll just save it there. Okay, now let's reset and reset our tone, and let's bring up our other image. and find it. Sun, 25%. Oop. Now we can get a little bigger. And again, I'm going to select to opt out of just making my changes inside the reference box and select and process all. I'm going to make another anchor point, drag this up here, and up right there. And I'm okay with that. You can sit and play around this until you get it just the way you want it, but deconvolution won't be as much, probably 2 to 2.2, no more than 2.4. Let's stop there. Let's bring up sigma to about just a little bit, and unsharp mask. That's fine. Again, we're going back into Photoshop. So let's save this and use a 16-bit TIFF, and we're going to call this Quark, and AT65 EDQ is the refractor. All right, we're going to go into my Mac now, and I'm going to move those folders over. All right, we need Photoshop. And we're bringing it up, and we don't need Windows. Sorry for the, I should have had it opened. And so let's go to File, Open. External SSD drive, solar, and here are two images. Just bring them both up at the same time. And since the scout came up first, let's work on that. First thing I want to do is kind of crop out some of the boundary issues I'm having. So let's bring this in, bring this down, and bring this up. And then I'm going to use my arrow key and come in just a little bit over here on this side, and I'm going to go up and select this checkbox to complete the crop. I'm going to make a copy of this by hitting the Command or on a Windows Control J key, so I have a duplicate layer here. And then I'm going to even make another layer because I'm going to go ahead and colorize this first. And I'm going to go down to, it's the fourth little icon in while you're in the layers palette, and it's the adjustment layer, and I'm going to, this is all grayed out, and the reason why it is that I have to convert this first image mode to an RGB color image. So we do it, and we don't want to flatten. I just created that layer, so select no. Where did Photoshop go? All right, now we're going to go to the 1, 2, 3, 4th icon in and select curves. And we're going to take this main curve here and we're going to drag this down just a little bit to add some contrast. And we're going to bring it up a little bit up here, a little bit of an S curve. And actually could have probably brought this in just a little bit. Nope, it's darkening over here too much. Let's bring, it's too much. All right, let's leave it there. And then we're going to go to our red, select your red channel and bump this up a good bit. Go to your green and then your blue and bring those down to taste. And until you get the color or the combination of channels to suit you. All right, we are done. We could flatten this image. And we would be done. And I actually like it done this way. But I want to do a little more sharpening to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a whole new image by hitting the Shift. On a Mac, it's Shift, Option, Command, and the E key. But on a Windows, it would be Shift, Option, Control, E. And then you get a new independent layer. If you disconnected these layers, it would have no effect on this layer. So you're working on an independent layer. Now, I do this because I may ultimately want to delete this and go back and start again, and I don't want to have to add color to it any more than I have to, or I've already got that decided. So I've got a new independent layer, and I'm going to go up to Filter, and I'm going to go down to Camera Raw Filter. And this is where I do my sharpening. Under Basic, I'm going to come back and adjust exposure and contrast and highlights, but I'm going to go down here first to Texture and really drag this to the right when I'm using the Scout. And so Clarity becomes the next, and then Dehaze just kind of closes out the deal. Then I'm going to go down to Detail, and I'm going to add Sharpening to about 45, and then I'm going to take Noise Reduction to about 45, and Color Noise Reduction to about 45. And that kind of does away with the artifacts that start because of all the sharpening, dehazing, and contrast that I start doing on the rim. That may be a little much. So let's go back to Basic, and let's bring Clarity up a little more. And we may have to come back and work on our colors again. Let's bring our exposure up. But if you want to work on colors, you can come down here to Curve. You can click on Red, and you can do that here. And so I'm just going to leave it right here, and I'm going to click OK. And so here is the image that I would say could be my finished image. One of the disasters of this image, it's just I wish it didn't do this, but I didn't frame this really well, and as a result, probably one of the most interesting features of the whole image is about cropped out. So I wish I had more real estate on this side of the sun. But I really wasn't planning on using any of these images. I was just looking for a place to frame for my afternoon time lapse, and so it is what it is. But you get the idea. So you might be happy with this. Usually I am. But I have some folks that would like to have this background dark and still have the dark background, but still be able to see the activity on the rim. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a duplicate layer by hitting Command on a Mac or Control on a Windows J, Command J. And so I'm making a duplicate layer, and I'm going to go up to Image, Adjustments, Invert. It's going to turn blue on us, and of course that's hideous. And now I'm going to create a layer mask out here to the right, and I'm going to go down, and it's the third icon in, and I have a layer mask. Before I do that though, I'm going to come back and make this layer active. It has a box around it. And I'm going to go up to the blending modes, and we're going to go all the way down and use luminosity. So we're going to go all the way down to luminosity. So now we have a dark background and an ugly sun. But that's why I put this mask out here. So we've got this mask waiting for us to make some changes. Now, I'm going to want to use my brush and paint back in the original sun, this image right here. But I don't want to paint in the original background, which was white. So I need a selection. So I'm going to go up here. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4th icon down, and I'm going to use the quick selection tool. You can use your bracket keys to change the size of the brush. I'm going to make mine about that size. I'm going to put it inside the sun and hold down my left click and drag it until the entire sun is selected, and you can see the marching ants going around it. So now when I brush into this, I'm not going to, if I make a mistake, I'm not going to mess up my background. So I'm going to go out here to this layer and make this now active if it wasn't already. I'll close that out. So that's active. I want to make sure that this is black, that I'm painting into black to reveal this. And I'm going to go up to my brush, and I got a big one, and I'm just going to paint over this. You don't have to worry about getting outside of it because you got a selection that's protecting the rest of it. Look at all of that. Crazy, ugly, those dust spots. All right, so now we have a darker background, and we still have our flares. And let's deselect this. And you might like that look better. Now I'm going to flatten this image and show you how I would take care of those spots. So let's go to Layer and Flatten. And so we're finished so far with this. I'm going to hit the Command or Control J key to make a duplicate layer. I'm going to zoom in by hitting the Command or Control and the plus, and I'm going to go up here to the lasso tool. No, the lasso tool right there. And I'm going to draw a selection around that dust spot. And I'm going to right click, go down to Fill, and I'm going to make sure Content Aware is my blending option. And I'm going to click OK. And that goes away. I'm going to go here and do the same thing. Right click and Fill. And that goes away. And you're right, it creates stuff that was never there. But it is what it is. I got one here. You don't have to do it. You can leave the dirt. I don't like to. So you right click, Fill, and Content Aware. Okay, now we can deselect. And that would be our finished flatten the image. And then we could save this out. So part of the problem that I'm having with this particular setup is that I have a Daystar tilt adapter. What is that called? I think at any rate I can change the sensor angle to combat the Newton ring issue that you get in solar imaging. but because I have it in a way that I'm getting a little light leak on this side over here, that it's brighter than it is over here. I wish this was all the way around, and I've taped it, I've done a number of things, but I don't know how to get rid of this. And if you do, please message me or in the comments, let me know how I might be able to get rid of this. I don't know how. I'm not real sure what's causing it. I think it's light leaking in the tilt. Okay, I'll go ahead and save this, and I'm going to go to my external, another drive where I save. I took this in May. I'll create a new folder. I'm going to call this new folder 5423 solar, and I'm going to give this the Solar Scout, so I'm just going to save it there. And now let's move over to this one. I'm going to make this smaller. I'm going to hit the Command or the Control and then the minus key. And we're going to do a little cropping on this one as well. So I'll go up here to the crop. I'm going to move this in and take this down some. Maybe this up some. And this can come in a great deal. And so we'll crop that. And I'm going to make a duplicate image. And I'm going to go on down and I'm going to select the fourth icon in, which is the Let's go up and convert this from a mono to an RGB color image. Don't flatten. I always forget to do that. And then let's go up to curves. And let's take the RGB and let's make a little S curve here. That works. And then let's activate just the red channel, drag it up, and just the green and the blue, green next, and then the blue, and drag that down. And I'm not going to fiddle with this any more than this. Now I'm going to hit the Shift, Option, Command or Control, and the E key, and I've created a new independent layer. And I'm going to go up to Filter, and I'm going to go to the Camera Raw Filter, and I'm going to go up here to Basic, and we're going to take Texture up a good bit, Clarity up a good bit, maybe not that much. This is where you're going to see the artifacts that the noise reduction is going to get rid of. You couldn't see it that much on the Solar Scout. And we're going to drag this up some, make the vibrance pop a little bit, and the saturation a little bit more. Let's take our highlights down and darken this a little bit. And let's bring our shadows up and brighten up that just a little bit. But you want to get the spherical look from bright to darker that the sun has. So whites can go up for contrast and darks can go down. Contrast can come up a little bit. Now we have to go down to detail, and we'll apply sharpening a little different. May not apply as much sharpening, but see all these artifacts that are showing up? I'm going to zoom in closer and see this stuff, and this is what we're going to get rid of with the noise reduction. I may have to paint that in so that it doesn't, in fact, let's do that later. All right, let's bring that back and apply it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flatten this layer. I'm going to make a duplicate. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustment, Invert. Then I'm going to come on over. Let's go ahead and create our layer mask, but I'll make this active again. I'm going to go down to luminosity, and that's looking funky. I'm going to get my quick selection tool, and I'm going to make sure that I have this thing selected, the sun selected. Now, I sort of kind of like that brightness on the rim, so I'm going to go up to select and come down to modify, and I'm going to select contract, and I'm going to make this selection, yeah, 5 pixels. Just leave it at 5 pixels, and it's going to move that in some. That's not enough. I'm going to undo this. I'm going to go back up to select, modify, contract, and let's make this 10 pixels. Okay, so we brought this in, which kind of shows the bright. I may not like it, I may undo that, but at any rate, so now we need to make this layer active by clicking on it, and there's a box around it. We also need to make sure that we have a black. We're going to be painting into black, and if it's white, then hit this bar up here to, or these 2 arrows to move that, to make sure you're painting into a dark, and then we're going to click our brush, and we're just going to paint over this and bring everything we had back. Okay, well, all right, well, I don't like that. So let's just go here, and I'm going to right click, and we're going to delete everything, and we're going to get rid of our selection. Selection. Deselect. You can do command, just hit the command D key, and I'm going to make an alternate layer. Let's go back up to image, adjustments, invert, and let's create our layer mask over here. Let's come back, make sure this is active. Let's go to the blending mode, and let's go down to luminosity, and this time let's put our selection tool to work again, and let's expand it. It's covered it, so let's expand it to make sure it stays covered. Let's expand this, select, modify, expand, maybe 3 pixels. All right, so now it's time to make sure we have our layer mask active and that we're painting with a dark background. So, you know, light reveals, dark conceals, and we're painting over here with light. So we're going to reveal, and we're going to get our mask, brush, and not our eyedropper, our brush, and let's just paint it back in. Okay, and we can do deselect, and now we have, the only issue I have really is down here, this corner, and I can't crop up. I really don't know how that got out of hand, but I could crop in a little bit. Let's try doing that. Maybe I can. I hate getting rid of data, but we might also flatten this image and rotate it. I don't like looking at it this way. Let's go to image, image rotation, counterclockwise. Yeah, I think I like that better. And so let's save this. Save as. We already have Quark, and we're in the right. Now we want to go to the Astro 5, 2023, May 5/24, and so we have saved it. So You have the opportunity of using a white background. You have the opportunity of using a black background. I probably should have applied the noise reduction only on the background, and I could have made a selection and done just that, and then just painted this back to normal, because the noise reduction softened some of my detail on the surface, but um, it is what it is. Well, that is it, folks. That's pretty much the way I try to pull this off. Um, I hope it helped. And if you have any suggestions on how I can improve what I'm doing, because I learned from you guys, please leave me comments and let me know. And thanks for watching. Y'all have a great rest of the day, great week.